Hey guys, John here. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to do another speaker comparison. In this video we're going to compare the legendary Celestion Vintage 30 to two Jensen speakers. Jensen were kind enough to send me the Tornado SE and the Silverbird to use in shootouts and stuff, so massive thanks to Jensen for sending these over. Now this is going to be quite interesting, I think. I recently did a comparison in which I compared 3 Fein speakers to the V30. You can check that out up here or down here. Those sounded great, but I think that these Jensen speakers will sound quite different. They definitely seem to have unique characteristics. And this is going to be a simple video in terms of the layout. First, we're going to check out the individual speakers, and then we're going to do A/B comparisons with the V30 versus the Jensen speakers individually for each speaker. The signal chain is as follows. The guitar that I'm using is my ESP LTD Phoenix Black Metal with the Seymour Duncan Nazgul pickup in the bridge, going into the ENGL Fireball 25. Now for this video, I noticed that the Tornado SE was a bit darker sounding than the V30 and the Silverbird. So for that particular speaker, I did raise the treble a little bit from around, let's say, 1/4 to 10 to around 11:30. And I also decided to move one of my SM57s a bit closer to the center of the speaker. Just so you know that those are some variables that are going to change for that particular speaker. For the Silverbird, the settings will remain the same between the V30 and that speaker. And also the mic positions. Now the amp is going to be fed into my Grossmann Fatbox 1x12 cabinet. And in that cabinet, I have 3 mics loaded up. 2 SM57s on slightly different positions in terms of how far they are from the center, and an MD421 Kompakt. Now the other thing, just as in the previous comparisons, that I'm going to do to change the frequency response a little bit between the speakers is change the levels. So for instance, the Tornado SE is going to have a bit more low-end resonance. So for that speaker and the Silverbird as well, I'm going to lower the MD421 and balance out the levels between the 2 SM57s. Now normally I avoid EQ as much as possible with these types of videos, but I did notice some low frequency resonant humps at around 120 Hz with the low chugs, especially with the Jensen speakers. So what I decided to do for the A/B comparisons later in this video is for the full mix segments, turn on Pro Q4 by FabFilter on the dynamic EQ setting with the spectral setting, just to tame the resonant frequencies a little bit. But for the isolated guitar segments, the EQ will be turned off so that you can hear the speaker in its pure form, okay? That's important to note. The guitars are double tracked, panned hard left and right. I have a low cut at around 85 Hz or so. And that's it. Oh, and by the way, if you want IRs of all the speakers that I've used so far on the channel, including these 2, check out my web store in the description below and you can find IR packs for all the speakers that I've featured on the channel there. Okay, so as the baseline, we're going to take a listen to the Celestion Vintage 30 and, see how that sounds in the context of this song. Take a listen. Wonderful. Okay, that speaker always sounds good. I have nothing negative to say about it. I love it, okay? Okay, now we're going to check out the Jensen Tornado SE. I will say that this speaker is very lightweight. When I picked it up out of the box, I was really surprised at how lightweight it is. So imagine having 4 of these in a 4x12 cabinet. The cab is going to be quite a bit lighter because of that, so that's a plus. But yeah, let's take a look at the website and see what they have to say about this speaker. Okay, so it's a 100 watt speaker available in 8 and 16 ohm. The Jensen Tornado Special Edition has a tight, powerful response optimized for the most demanding contemporary tones from pop and rock up to high gain and metal applications. After more than a decade of growing success with the Jensen Tornado series, established as one of the most popular neodymium speaker families, It was time to offer a new voicing concept, designed from the ground up to meet the tonal requirements of today's musicians. From the pop rock and the studio session guitarist up to the heaviest and most chuggiest metal players. To ensure a tight and punchy response, some of the energy in the deepest bass range has been shifted up in the lower mid-range, giving a thicker, richer tone where the electric guitar fundamental tones are. The mid-range is well balanced with a subtle presence push to ensure clarity and detail without harshness. The top end is carefully tailored to deliver a smooth, progressive roll-off free from resonances and artifacts, allowing the upper harmonics to open up the guitar tone with a cutting, present rendition yet clear from excessive fizz. And then we have a bunch of technical stuff. But yeah, let's just take a listen to some riffs and see how it sounds in the context of this mix. Take a listen. Alright, that sounded pretty good. Interesting. Very different from the V30, but I'll get into that later in the video. Let's move on to the Jensen Silverbird. And let's see what sort of specifications are up on the website about this speaker. So yeah, this is a 70-watt speaker, also available in 8 and 16 ohm. The Silverbird speakers are designed to provide an eminently versatile array of tones, retaining the distinct vintage character of their reinforced Alnico ancestors, but in a more affordable platform. Specific attention was paid to the top-end response, carefully tailored to make the Silverbird speaker well-suited to overdrive and high-gain applications. Additionally, they feature a more contemporary frequency curve on their respective treble ranges. And then again, a bunch of technical stuff, but yeah. I must say that a lot of the descriptions of these speakers from various brands do have similar things going on in terms of what they say about the speakers. So in the end, it's all about listening to the speaker and making your own mind up, basically. Okay, so let's see how this speaker sounds, the Jensen Silverbird. Alright, that sounded much brighter, so yeah, very different from the Tornado SE. Interesting, but again, more thoughts will be shared later in this video. Let's go ahead and do the A/B comparisons, and first we're going to compare the Celestion Vintage 30 to the Tornado SE and see what happens. And remember, for the isolated sections, the EQ, so Pro Q4, is turned off with the resonance suppression, but for the full band stuff, that EQ is turned on, just to make the guitar sit in the mix a little bit better and have those low-end resonances poke out a little bit less. And also keep in mind that once again for the Tornado SE, the presence on the amplifier was turned up a little bit, as well as one of the SM57s was moved closer to the center a little bit, say 2 to 3 centimeters or so. Okay, let's take a listen. Interesting. So the Tornado SE sounds quite different from the Vintage 30, as you heard. For me, it's very hard to beat the Vintage 30. I know it's boring, but I love it so much. It works. The forwardness is just really great on the V30, right? The Tornado SE, it's a bit darker sounding. That's why, of course, I raised the presence and moved the mic around a little bit. It's a bit more round in the top end. But it is quite flat sounding. So, you know, you do hear all the frequencies quite nicely in the entire spectrum, which is a good thing. Again, it's also lightweight, but it was a bit pokey in the chugs, so the low mids. A bit too pokey for my taste. I prefer the low mid and low response on the V30. And overall, it was a little bit on the sterile and boring side, in my opinion, in comparison to the V30. But that's just my opinion based on this test. Of course, I'd love to know your opinion, so be sure to drop your opinion in the comments below. This video is not just for me, I'm also making this for you, so I just really want to know what your thoughts are. Now let's move on to the Silverbird. So again, we're going to compare the V30 to the Silverbird. The EQ settings and the mic distances will be exactly the same for both the speakers this time around. Take a listen. Interesting. So this one sounds quite a bit brighter, right? It sounds more open and bright and airy than the V30. So if you're a fan of darker sounding amplifiers, for example, or if you simply want a speaker that sounds really open and bright, then the Silverbird could be for you. For me, it doesn't beat the V30, but that's just based on my personal taste, once again. But it's not a bad sounding speaker. I do have similar criticisms as I had with the Tornado SE though, that it sounds quite sort of linear and a little bit boring and flat in the response. It's hard to describe, but I find the low end resonances to be just a little bit too pokey, and the top end and the mids just a little bit too sort of flat and just not really flattering sounding. It's hard to describe these things, of course. But it doesn't sound bad at all, but it sounds quite different from the V30, the speaker that I love so much, right? But again, I really want to know you guys' thoughts, so let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. So yeah, that's it for this comparison, the V30 versus the Jensen Tornado SE and the Silverbird. I had a blast. They are great speakers for sure, just very different from the V30. And for my taste, not exactly my thing. It's not what I would choose per se, but it's going to be cool to have these speakers and to use them in some shootouts in the future as well. And again, massive thanks to Jensen for sending these over to me. I really appreciate it. So again, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to know. Also, please hit the like and subscribe buttons as that really helps the channel out. I'd hugely appreciate it. Of course, check out my web store for my IR packs and all that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.